Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining me today for today's webinar on the USG Flex devices. If you wouldn't mind giving me a minute or so, there's a few more people just joining the GoToWebinar system. Just give them a chance to join and then we'll crack on. Thanks very much indeed. Cheers. Right, thank you very much. It's allowed the other people to join. So as I said at the beginning, thank you very much for joining us on today's webinar. It's about the USG Flex devices that we brought out over the last few months and where they're going and the benefits and so on and so forth. So what I like to say to people on these webinars is that at the end of the webinar, you get sent the PowerPoint slides or a PDF version of the PowerPoint slide. So sometimes I will shoot through some slides quicker than I would normally because there's useful information in there, like maybe links to websites or links to part numbers or competitive information that you can't go over in the actual webinar, but I know it's useful, and hence when you get sent the presentation afterwards, it contains everything that you might possibly need. So if I shoot through a couple of slides quickly or whatever, that's where I'm coming from. Obviously at the end, there's if you want to ask questions, I'm quite happy to hang around, answer the questions, or if you want to get in touch with me directly, then please do so. My email address is nigel.canning@zizor.co.uk, and if I can help in any way, please get in touch. So we'll get started because everyone's joined now. Thank you very much. Right. So the purpose of this webinar really is just to go over the details about the USG Flex. It's where we think it's going to be useful, so on and so forth. But what we did want to emphasize at the beginning of the presentation is how successful the USG family itself has been over many years. In 2019 alone, as you can see, 66,000 units were sold. We have hundreds of thousands of active subscribers. We have nearly 250,000 protected devices out there from about roughly 2016. It's a huge license business. It's a huge hardware business to us. So you want to support our current customers, give them a way forward, give them a roadmap forward, and this is really where the USG Flex is coming in. You'll see in a minute that there are currently 3 devices out there to replace the current USG devices. The USG devices will still be there for a while, but obviously the way forward is the USG Flex. So really the idea of this presentation is just to show you where we're coming from and where we're going to. So these are some of the reviews that the USG series has had over the years. Very highly regarded by various technical magazines, IT magazines, network magazines, and companies. It's been tested by the ICSA Labs organization in America, so that shows you the sort of level of quality from a internet network security testing point of view. Whoops. You can see basically all these reviews in the icons and so on and so forth. I'm going to go through these quite quickly, but you can see we've got various reference recommendations from highly regarded organizations and technical publications around the world. So what does the USG Flex offer you then? Well, obviously, there's a number of aspects to it. There's 2 core things. The hardware platform has been refreshed, and there's a couple of new, quite sophisticated sort of threat detection engines in it. Sometimes you see it described on some of the webinars and press releases as higher precision detection. Excuse me. So what we're doing is we're using some cloud querying and highly sophisticated sort of AI technology that was built for the top-end security device, the ATP range, that's now been brought into the USG Flex range. Basically, we're using cloud technology. So basically the fact that that's almost a limitless resource. So you've got a database living in the cloud engine, which has got billions of signatures, and the USG Flex devices are leveraging that database to continuously learn and to continually query and detect viruses of all kinds. So by using hash detection mechanisms and doing it in line, you can get quite substantial speed improvements. So you're searching for the hash pattern, not pattern matching the entire file that's been transferred. So one of the things that we have tried to point out is that basically we have a multi-pronged approach to the security for any kind of security device, actually not just the USG Flex. And what we've done for the USG Flex series, we've basically integrated a new engine from a substantial partner, which is basically McAfee. So we basically bring in intelligence from leading companies, bring that all together to basically create a sort of a scaled solution that searches for security issues from antivirus, like leveraging, for instance, Bitdefender, using McAfee engines and using LastLine. And the idea is that we're bringing them together as a multi-pronged approach. So if one misses it, the other one gets it, that kind of thing. So this is quite an investment from Zeisel's point of view. So basically, we've entered into a relationship with McAfee to leverage a lot of their world-leading security technology, and those engines are integrated into our cloud solutions, which these devices then leverage. And what you'll see with the McAfee technology is that you can basically use the cloud database that is globally sort of positioned around the internet, the main sort of POPs around the internet, which are they're looking for malware and security issues and so on and so forth, and feeding back to these centralized cloud security detection engines, which then feed back down to your on-premise device. So basically it gives you a huge sort of world-class leading detection rate. You can see on the sort of the example graph there of Zeisel versus Sophos versus Fortinet, we're well up there and beyond most of the major parties. So we're offering, an enterprise-grade solution at a sort of small to medium-sized business price point. There are some subtle improvements that you get as well, for instance, with booting up performance, because obviously the cloud security engines are not down as such, they're always running. When your security device boots up, obviously it gets up to speed that much quicker, because basically we're leveraging the cloud that's always online, and the hashes go back up to the cloud straight away in real time, and you get your detection straight away. One of the reasons for signing up and having a relationship with McAfee is that it does give us substantially enhanced web filtering. So basically the number of categories, as you can see on here, has increased from 64 to 111. And one of the substantial things as well is this thing called the Counterterrorism Internet Referral Unit. Basically, this is a UK policing and internet security issue, which basically, if you're within an educational or maybe a sort of a charitable environment, and you will need to almost legally filter these anti-terrorism lists. And basically, so we've got a relationship. It's via the Met Police. These lists go up into our cloud-based solution, and then you can leverage them as well from the device. So if you're in education or various charities, the devices will now filter the anti-terrorism side of it as well, which is actually sort of mandated for a lot of things within education and charities nowadays. One of the things that I touched on earlier on, one of the key aspects of the USG Flex, and obviously the ATP and stuff like that, is that we're basically using a multi-layered approach to network security. So you've got things on, as it says on the left-hand side, which is the concept of blocking, full stop. So you've got URL blocking, so you've got threat filters. You've got things like anti-malware. So if you detect a virus, or if you detect ransomware, obviously you instantly just block it and delete it. And you've got intrusion prevention on there as well. So if you're detecting intrusion detection type patterns, sophisticated network protocol patterns, then they're blocked. Then you've got a sort of a strange online behavior, haven't you, which is what is risky behavior. So we've got additional features in there now, which is geographical enforcement. So you could say, well, I can't really see why anyone from, and apologies to pick on China and Russia, but if that you can't see any reason why anyone from China or Russia would be trying to, create an SSL VPN into your device. You can set web filtering out, which says, well, okay, we won't go anywhere near Russian domains or Chinese domains or whatever. And then you can look at applications and filter them and block them or reduce their bandwidth. So, people shouldn't be watching YouTube videos during the working day. They shouldn't really be on Facebook, or you want to reduce the bandwidth down to them. So that's the sort of risky behavior, and that's the kind of detection and control that the USG Flex can now carry on doing, but with an increased range of mechanisms and solutions to block access. One of the things I touched on right at the beginning as well, there's a substantial performance boost in the new range. There's a new hardware platform, which itself gives you around about 125%. And then using the sort of the cloud query UTM performance enhancements, you get, in the best case, 5 times 500% to bring the two things together. And you can see that these devices are well set up for dealing with fiber type connectivity that's been rolled out more and more nowadays, or if you've got say GFast or 300 meg, that sort of thing. So these devices are out there to help you deal with your fiber connectivity or your increased sort of copper DSL type solutions. Excuse me. Although in reality, obviously, most people are hopefully going for a fiber connection if it's available in your area more and more. This is a nice simple chart which just shows you the older current USG devices, so the 40, the 60, and the 110, and then you can see the newer devices in blue, the 100, the 200, and the 500. There is a sort of a comparison matrix at the end of the slides, but you can see what we're trying to do here in terms of saying if you've got USG 40 and you want to upgrade, go to 100. If you've got USG 60, you want to go to a USG Flex 200. If you've got a 110, you want to go to a USG Flex 500. So you can see the firewall performance up by over 100%. UTM, Unified Threat Management, up by, in the best possible cases for all kinds of scenarios, 5 times 500%. Obviously, all the things that you've been able to do with the USG, you can now do with the USG Flex. Obviously, remote working, there's some nice zero configuration sort of scripts are in there just to make that life a little bit easier. Obviously, it offers IPsec, SSL, and level 2 tunneling protocol based VPNs. So you can obviously have site-to-site networks. You can have remote access using SSL VPN type solutions. Obviously, with the increased performance hardware platform, the number of SSL VPN users, for instance, that it can support is higher. So the USG Flex is at 30, the USG Flex 200 is at 60, USG Flex 500 is at 150. So as you can see, if you had a smaller USG device, then obviously going up to a USG Flex, and if your office grows, in the sense that you've got to support more people working from home in the obvious current climate, USG Flex is the way to go, no problems. What we've also done as well is we've taken the opportunity to be a little bit more flexible with the subscriptions. So if most people are used to the USG and the USG licensing model, you have the concept of, you can either have a bundle. The bundle is a device that comes with a license, or you can have an unbundled device. So if you just wanted to use the devices as a firewall type device without antivirus scanning and UTM and stuff like that, you could just buy the hardware device. But on the whole, most people buy them in their bundled mode, where it comes with a full license. So we've got this concept now of the main UTM bundle and a hospitality bundle, which is to do with access point management and some sort of hotspot type features, but that'll become clear on the next slide. So basically, if you buy a bundled solution, it comes with the UTM features. So you've got web filtering, IDS, IDP and via IPS, application control, anti-malware, email security as well if you require it. And one of the key things which will come to in a minute, things like Secure Reporter. Now, the hospitality license is all to do with the device can manage access points, and it can also do hotspot management, issue tickets for people within hospitality, so caravan parks and things like that, to enable Wi-Fi services where you have to pay or it's given out as part of your holiday bundle. Then you can see that the renewal bundled license is essentially the same as the included bundle license, but it comes with a slightly uplifted Secure Reporter premium version. Now, if you don't want the bundle, there is this a la carte license. So you can see that basically you can get web filtering, which also comes with the email security license as well, slightly confusing. Or you can buy Secure Reporter Premium separately, and you can buy the hospitality license separately as well. So if you need to manage individual access points. You just buy a license to do that. So you don't have to have the bundled license, is what I'm saying. And you can have an a la carte. So you just do web filtering, for instance. So you can buy an unbundled device and then buy the a la carte license, or when it comes time for renewal, go down the a la carte route, whatever works for you, basically. One of the key things I try to get across to people with any kind of network security solution is that really one of the key things is to have a reporting system or analytics so that you actually know what's going on. You can use things like syslog with your filtering rules and so on and so forth to see what's being blocked or see what's being ignored, but you're going to end up with an absolutely massive, lot of noise, which somehow you've got to make sense of. And in truth, what it means is that you don't do it, so you don't actually see what's going on. Whereas with Secure Reporter, all the analytics are passed up to our Secure Reporter cloud. No data goes up there, so we're not snooping on users' data and stuff like that. But you can see what the device is doing, where the threats are coming in from, viruses that are being caught, malware, ransomware. Are people trying to access YouTube, Facebook, and so on and so forth, and see how much traffic is going in that direction? So a really nice reporting solution is Secure Reporter. So if you think about it, if you need to justify your internet link speeds to your financial director or something like that, basically have a monthly or a quarterly report about your company's network security, that is what Secure Reporter can do from you. You can justify your existence, you can justify what the link is being used for. You can also, for instance, see your remote access network, how much is being used for that. Do you, for instance, if you feel you need to justify an increase in the bandwidth over your internet circuit, this is the kind of reporting system that you can use to work that one out, and that comes as part of a bundled license. Obviously, one of the things with such a comprehensive solution, with the hospitality features, you can manage access points via the device. We've gone away from having a separate on-premise access point controller. They used to be called the NX C series. They've been end-of-lifed, and the security devices like the USG Flex and the ETP are now taking over that additional role if you wish to use it, so that you can basically group together a Wi-Fi access solution with network security, with an internet circuit, bring it all together. There is a default number of access points that each device supports, and then there's a maximum number of access points that the device supports. And then obviously, if you need to go beyond the default, you need to get an access point license uplift, which is not that expensive. The other feature of access point manageability is this thing called AP grouping. So basically, if you've got mass deployment, the hospitality license allows you to group them together for mass deployment. It's so much more efficient, basically. Then we just want to quickly explain the license service and features. Basically, the anti-malware with cloud query feature, as I kind of touched on earlier on, basically, obviously, you scan all your incoming files and data and so on and so forth, and those hashes are compared against the Zyzal Security Cloud in what's called express mode. So this basically leverages and integrates all the various detection engines that live within the cloud. This gives you a much higher detection rate, as I mentioned, without compromising on performance, because basically we're leveraging all these engines in the cloud, sending up hashes. That comparison is then made and fed back down to the on-premise device. So that basically enables fast stream-based scanning to be provided with no file size limitation, because basically you're not sending the file all the way up to the cloud engines. You're just sending the hashes up. So it's really optimized for that kind of thing. Ideal. We also have web filtering as part of the license, obviously, where you can basically block access to malicious or risky websites, as I said before. So what you have here is if somebody sends in a URL, HTTP or HTTPS, which matches the blocking policy engine, then obviously that gets blocked out, and access is denied, basically. And obviously these engines and the lists that the parser compares against, i.e. the database in the cloud, is kept up to date and in real time, is always growing, as I said earlier on. One of the other things of the license in terms of the whole UTM package is application performance. So this allows you to have really good fine-grained control over the type of applications that are being used. So obviously the first thing to do is to identify all those applications, and that's where the rules that are automatically updated come in. So you can identify, Skype or Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, as I said. So the first thing is identification, and then they get categorized. And obviously then, after you've done that, you can then apply things like fine-grained flexible bandwidth control. So you can see on the right-hand side that you can control business class applications with a higher priority. So Google Apps, Office 365, Oracle databases, or WebEx, Salesforce, and things like Citrix Cloud Web Apps, that sort of thing. They would be given high priority. You would perhaps throttle back Skype or Facebook or something like that, or Twitter, Dropbox. And then obviously for certain things you might say, well, hang on, there's no way we should be watching films, i.e. Netflix or YouTube at work, and then you block those. So that's the kind of identification, categorize, and then apply control rules, and that's what application patrol is offering. And then you've got other things in the intrusion detection and prevention. So basically, there is a high-performance deep packet inspection engine in there, which can examine incoming and outgoing traffic. So that, you can look at those traffic patterns, you can look for buffer overflows or invalid protocol scans and so on and so forth. And then so from the detection point of view, once you've detected it, then you can go into a prevention mode. So basically you just block that particular traffic. So this can potentially protect various web applications from all kinds of invalid SQL injection type and cross-site scripting attacks. But these are quite sophisticated software engines to have in any kind of system. But without them, you wouldn't really be able to have a full suite of offerings. Excuse me. It also offers email security. Even though many people nowadays are using Office 365 or Google Apps, that sort of thing, if you want to offer, if you've got an email server on premise, maybe for sending out email alerts to your ops teams or that sort of thing, then you can use the USG Flex to offer email security. So it has various spam engines. It has, obviously, you can strip off viruses and that sort of thing. So all the things that you can imagine in an email security system is built into it as well, so you can use it if required. Now, the hospitality license we've already touched on. Basically, this license gives you the ability to manage access points, to offer a hotspot guest management type service, and to easily scale these kind of networks by basically all the devices can be grouped together. So you can have a group of access points in the bar area, you can have a group of access points in the bedrooms or whatever, but that kind of super highly efficient support and sort of service management is all taken care of by the hospitality license. The other thing we need to touch on is migration. Obviously, as part of call it an incentive if you like, if you've got a valid license within your current USG, there will be a way of migrating it to the USG Flex. And what we do is we take the longest outstanding license on the USG, and we add that to all of the individual elements of a bundled license and take that forward. So the new license is 365 days plus you actually get a 30-day trial, so that makes 396. If you've got 180 days left in your old USG content filter, then 180 days of all of the elements of the USG Flex bundle is added on. So you can see that you get a huge extension actually. We've also simplified the activation process. There's basically now just a two-step process. You put the key in, you put the customer in, and then you link and activate the devices as you would normally on MyZeisel. I would emphasize to people to use the MyZeisel platform to register your devices so that you get updates about when the licenses need renewing and if firmware comes out, that sort of thing, so on and so forth. So in terms of the hardware migration from a USG to a USG Flex, there are a couple of converters online. I should have put the link in, but I can send, if people are interested, if you search for Zeisel USG to USG Flex converter, there are some web tools where you can take a current USG configuration and it will convert it to a USG Flex configuration for you. And here it's just showing you what it does. It converts models to and from, and so on and so forth. Hopefully these are going to be useful. I'm going to go through these quite quickly. These are the kind of product comparisons. So what I've done for each of these slides is you've got the USG model number and then the competitor device that it competes against, so on and so forth. So you've got the USG Flex 100, where it maps to in terms of Fortinet, Sonic Wall, and Sophos. You've got the 200 and the 500. So I'm going to go through these quickly because obviously these are in the slides and you'll have these afterwards. Here we've got a nice simple slide as to what it looks like, what its firewall throughput is like, its VPN, IDP, so on and so forth. What are the hardware interfaces? So on the 100, for instance, you've got one WAN port. You've also got an SFP port, 4 LAN ports, and a USB 3 port. And it shows you how many access points, the default access point number that it can manage, and the maximum. And then you've got some real world performance tests and other features like, is it fanless, power supply, so on and so forth. So that's the 200, and that's the 500. And then there's a nice table where you can compare all of the specification information for the device. So if you've got a question about, well, I've got a 1 gigabit internet circuit, and I've got 300 megabits of bandwidth over it, what device do I go for? And how many SSL VPN users do I need to support? How many VLANs do I need to support? So on and so forth. So find out what your requirements are, look at the tables, add an element of flexibility and increase over the years. You really want to be thinking sort of a year or 18 months out, where am I going to be in that sort of time frame, and scale your model choice on that basically. And it's just the next page for that particular feature matrix. Then obviously it's quite useful to have the ordering information. So if you look under the part number for the EU, UK, you will see the model number for the unbundled device, and then the model number for the security bundle device, and that applies to all of the models. Then on the next page, what I've done is I've put the all of the licensing for each device on its own page. So you've got USG Flex 100 licensing on here. The bundles always tend to be LIC-bun, and obviously things like antivirus would be LIC-BAV, but it's fairly obvious 1 or 2 year. You've also got the additional access point licenses, and you've got the secure reporter licenses as well. Obviously, from a cost-effective point of view, the best thing to do is to buy a bundle. And what I would say is, for all of these kind of security upgrade projects, I often say to people to try and, I know it depends on money, but try and work on, say, a 3-year plan. If you're going to do a piece of work to replace a firewall, it's normally quite a large project and quite disruptive. Well, you don't really want to be coming back to it in a year's time and asking to justify another 1 year's worth of licensing renewal, so on and so forth. So from my point of view, if you come at it from a point of view of like a 3-year known costs, explain why you want to do that, all the features, the increase in the level of security, get those costs together for 3 years. Also, there's a part number in a minute I'm going to explain to people. We do, the devices come with what's called a limited lifetime warranty. So essentially they've got a lifetime warranty. Once the device goes end of life, we then support it for another 5 years after the end of life statement. So that means that we will swap out the device if it fails after end of life 5 years. But from a practical point of view, if the device fails, you would contact support, make an RMA request, send the device back to us, we receive it, check that it's faulty as described, and then we issue an RMA and ship the device back to you. Well, from a realistic point of view, that can take 3-4 days or a week, depending on shipping, or if you hit a weekend or whatever. We offer a next business day uplift for literally next to nothing. I think it's like resellers, it's probably going to cost you £35 or something like that for 4 years. So I would talk to your customers about the initial purchase with the additional licensing to get to 3 years, and the next business day uplift to a complete solution that gives you peace of mind for 3 years, or if you can afford it, go for 4 or 5 years on the licensing and so on and so forth. Anyway, that's just me talking out loud. The next page is obviously USG Flex 200 licensing, USG Flex 500 licensing. And then what I realized is that I should actually put what I've just mentioned, which is basically warranty. The next model's coming up, and Nebula, which a lot of people are asking about. So basically, as I've just said, that a network security device is the critical device, and hence, to my mind, the warranty uplift, you really should take it out. So these are actually the 3 part numbers for Zeisel's advanced replacement services. So obviously for switches, for gateways, which are security devices, and wireless LAN. So that part number that's highlighted in red gives you 4 years next business day uplift on the USG Flex for £35. I honestly think you'd be mad not to take it. Absolutely mad. That's just, if I was an IT manager, which I used to be, I'd jump at that. I don't want any hassle when it comes to warranties or RMAs, and that makes it easy to do. Now, the other thing is there's a blog post that's just been put out, which I'll put the link on there, by the our security product manager, a chap called Thorsten. If you're going to have a read of that, it explains what the USG Flex is up to, and basically there are 2 new models coming out, the USG Flex 700 and the USG Flex 100W. So the 700 is obviously higher performance than the 500. The 100W is the wireless integrated 100 model. So essentially, it's not an access point, but it's got a built-in access point. It's not an external access point. So basically, in maybe a small cafe or some sort of home type of thing with integrated Wi-Fi, USG Flex 100, they were always very popular before, unlike the USG 60W, I think it was, and things like that. So they were really, really popular devices. So that's coming out. I think it's probably out. If you read the blog post, it tells you, but I think it'll be on our price list next month without any trouble. The devices are already around. We're just waiting for a firmware release to enable those devices. Then I've got a quick product comparison chart, because some people ask about ATP, USG Flex, and USG. So this is just a simple table to show where, excuse me, where we're coming from. So obviously the USG has only got stream mode on UTM scanning, whereas the USG Flex offers the streaming mode and express mode. Express mode gives you substantial performance improvements, and it's leveraging the cloud, which the USG Flex can't. Sorry, which the USG can't. The ATP offers concurrent versions of that, which the USG Flex can't. The USG Flex does not have ATP sandboxing, and it does not have the threat intelligence machine learning. And also, the ATP has a little bit higher spec reputation service, as you can see on there, and there's a blacklist, an IP blacklist for the ATP. So the ATP is still the top end security solution, but the USG Flex is offering, if some people want to say gold, silver, and bronze, that's what I'm coming for. So it's up to you to make the appropriate choice for your customer. This is a suggested mapping from the current USG devices to the newer USG Flex devices. So you can see they're 40 to 100, 60 to 200, 110, 210 to the 500 model. Now, obviously, we've also got the 700 coming out. So consistently, you'd think that the 310 model could go to the 700. And obviously, if you wanted a wireless integrated one, then you'd use the USG Flex 100. So that's me nearly done. Thank you very much for joining me. If anyone's got any questions, I will hang around and ask them. I always stick the Zeisel MSP slide up there whilst I wait for any questions. But thank you very much for your time. You should receive the slides afterwards. If there's any questions, I'll stay online. If you've got any questions afterwards and you push for time, just send me an email, as I said, nigel.canning@zeisel.co.uk. Only pleased to help. And thank you very much for joining us. Nice to see you all. Hope you're all well. And I will shut up and wait for some questions. Cool. Thank you very much indeed.